Journal Night.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Rangers Journal. It's your Monday night pod. We do have a win to look back on and at least talk fondly over, at least for a little while. Don't worry, we will get into the Russell Martin stuff and the demonstration stuff with the Union Bears. But I first of all wanted to talk about the game and a few of the players in particular. I'm joined this evening by Ryan. Nick your teeth. Ryan, thank you for joining us.
Under the wire, mate. Under the wire. How are we getting on? Okay.
I'm okay. I'm just literally just back in the door myself. But I also joined by Colin. Colin, mate, how are you?
Yeah, good to see you both. Good to get together to actually talk about a win. I think we'd almost forgotten what it was like. So, yeah, look forward to getting into it.
I was trying to think back, actually, Colin. I mean, was Alloa maybe the last win, or was it Pilsen? It's back, a good 4 weeks anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And, the protests and stuff on Saturday, there's so much for us to get into. And obviously the title of the pod is, kicking the can down the road. Is this just a kind of pause in the storm, or is it the end of the storm? We'll get into it.
We'll see. Ryan, I'm going to bring up the title of the pod because there was a bit of chat yesterday in our group chat about naming this pod, because we've already had 2 pods already in the last year called Kicking the Can Down the Road, and we wanted to do it again purely to show that this is a situation that's not really been improving with the manager. What's your thoughts on the title of the pod?
I think it's abundantly obvious what's going on. I mean, yes, it's great to be here and sit and talk about a win, but I'm hoping we're not going to have to wait another 5 weeks or 6 weeks. That it's not acceptable that the team shows up every 5 or 6 games, and we talk about how great they were at the weekend and stuff like that. But obviously, we had the Pilsen game where they won 3-0. Arguments we might have called it been a bad night, but we still won 3-0 in Europe against a quality team. So it's been that way since then. That we've had such a great result. So yeah, I don't even know if I would even call it a great result. An expected result, I think, is probably the way to put it on Saturday. More like business as usual and living up to expectations.
I wasn't expecting a defeat of the weekend, to be honest with you both. I just felt, I had a mate who used to go to the roulette table and he'd just wait for like 5 blacks in a row and then put something on a red because he knew a red's coming soon. So I just felt there was going to be a win coming. Hibs actually not that bad a team. I quite like Boyle up front. Ryan, you were saying, I don't know, were you expecting another defeat? A lot of people before the match were just basically saying they're expecting to turn up and was going to be another result like last week.
I was. To be honest, I fully expected to be out on our backside. I fully expected us to be starting Livingston next week, sitting bottom of the league, which still could happen. And I've mentioned it quite a few times is, at what point does it become unacceptable for the manager? But try to remain positive. I'll go back on Thursday. I did say that I wasn't going to go back until the manager had been removed from his position, but I'm putting my differences aside. I'm realising that there's 11 guys on a park that wear a blue jersey that I love, that I've got to get out and support them regardless of what I think about the manager and the boardroom and stuff like that. There's 11 guys out there that need somebody to cheer them on, so I'm going. Basically, I'm going to go. I'm going to put my heart in it. I'm going to get right behind the team as much as I possibly can, regardless of what I think about the manager. That's the team that matters the most to me.
Well, Colin, 2 people that supposedly put things behind them were the manager and Nicholas Raskin, who came back into the team, played in what I think we would all agree is his best position, and lo and behold, he ends up having a great game.
Yeah, he sure did, and we could say told you so. And ironically, Raskin's probably saved Russell Martin for at least a couple of weeks or maybe another week. It's a win. It's a win that buys time. It's not necessarily a win that buys belief, I would say. I think that's fair to say. But I'm pleased to hear guys like Ryan say, I'm going on Thursday. I'm going to Ibrox. It'll be packed out. There'll be no protest, I don't think. And it's time to get behind the boys, because I don't know about you guys, but I got the feeling like from some supporters that they would quite happily have had us lose the game on Saturday if it meant Russell Martin going. And I'm sorry, I'll just never get behind that. I was watching that game thinking, with every fibre of my being, let's just win this game. And, time will tell. It could just be, like I said before, a pause in the storm. But, it buys Russell Martin a bit of time. Raskin was outstanding. Didn't surprise us at all. He was a driving force in every facet of the game, out of possession, just aggressive in the tackle, and his pressing. and of course quality on the ball. And it always amazes me how good he is in the air. Terrific delivery from Tav, which I think went unnoticed, but terrific delivery, had pace on it, and Raskin leapt high over the defender from post and headed it in. So he's done it so often for us. And of course, that you could see the confidence. For the next 3, 4, 5 minutes after that, we were on the front foot. We all of a sudden the game was, we looked fluid in attack, something which we haven't done over recent weeks. So if you're trying to pick the positives out of it, if it's a big if we can carry this momentum into the next few fixtures. I mean, you look at them on paper, and like Ryan says, it was an expected win in the sense that, Rangers should be beating these teams. And that's not being disrespectful or arrogant. It's just a fact. If you look at the fixtures we've got coming up over the next month, a lot of them are winnable games.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. Let me pull up a slide that Doug has done for us this evening. And I'll ask your opinion. It was Gary that did the, from our pod chat, did the numbers. I don't know, about marks out of 10. Raskin obviously running away with it there, Ryan, with a 9 and a man of the match. Fully deserved, yeah?
Yeah, I thought the wee man was absolutely brilliant on Saturday, and it just shows you how much we've missed him and how important it can be for the team moving forward. The wee man, especially his goal, the wee guy's, 5'7", 5'8". He's one of the shortest guys in the team, and he can rise high above everybody else and takes a goal. But I think he was a stick on to score on Saturday, and it was only when he scored that I wish I'd put a bet on it, because it was written in the stars for him to come back and do that, and I was delighted for him.
69% possession, which is, I guess, we come to expect that. It's obviously what Russell Martin wants. Let me come back to you, Colin. You mentioned Raskin's goal, but I wanted to bring up the Hibs goal that was chopped off. Rightly, obviously. They managed to spot the handball this week. I don't even know if we got an official apology, but we also heard from the referees panel that two of the VAR decisions from last week, or lack of action from VAR for the Hearts' first goal for handball, which I thought was a lot more obvious than this one. I really felt we got away with that. As much as it was a handball on Saturday, it's hard to see.
Yeah, I don't think it was by any means a deliberate handball, but it certainly hit his hand enough to put it into his path, which obviously helped him score. So it was, like you say, it was correctly ruled out for a handball. The decisions over the past couple of weeks have probably gone under the radar purely because the fans have been so angry at the way we're playing. But there have been absolutely shocking ones across the board. None more so than the one they got, the penalty they got away to Killie. Mm-hmm. So yeah, at that point, and your rival, see if that goal counts. It's a totally different game in the sense that we've heard Russell Martin talk about the fragility mentally of this team, or supposed fragility that he's seeing, and the anxiety. I'm repeating all these buzzwords that he seems to be using every single press conference. You can be sure that if Hibs go one up, totally different game, and we may have gone on to lose that game because we haven't seen the fight in them when they face adversity. So yeah, good that was disallowed.
Ryan, if he had managed to control it maybe with his thigh or the top of his leg or whatever, he gets through and goal and probably still finishes it. What I was wanting to point out was, again, how we were just having balls over the top causing us problems because we're stuck in the halfway line. Yeah,
and I'd actually made a comment on Doug and John's pre-match thing that I fully expected that to happen. I thought that he would exploit the high line, and it's a wee bit kind of lackadaisical, the marking, although it's kind of they are playing the high line. It doesn't actually feel as if they're caring about guys standing on the halfway line. It feels as if they believe that the striker should come and mark them. We've seen that was it Mandron that scored against St Mirren, against us for St Mirren, that he pulled us through there. You see there with Boyle. Boyle's been doing that against us for years going by, and it's perfectly obvious that was the way they were going to exploit it. The fact that they managed to actually find a handball in that, I was actually quite astounded by, considering how blatantly obvious the Shankland one was. Shankland was almost playing a different sport compared to that one there. It was crazy how they actually managed to get to the right decision on Saturday, but yet, just 7 days earlier, they've had an influence in there. What was a 4-point swing in the league decider, and these guys have got to raise their standards. They're in charge of Scottish football. They're effectively in charge of people's livelihoods and people's jobs, and making such fundamental, ludicrous decisions as what we seen last Saturday can literally get people out on the street and cost them their jobs. So There's no excuses for the wins last week. I was thankful they managed to get to the right decision this week. But it does show that is still a fragility that exists within our team. And if they want to play this high line, fine. But if they wanted the centre halves to play, so Haley Buckland needs to come up and play high behind them as well. So he's got an opportunity to cut them out. And it's his starting position always seems to be in the 6-yard box, whereas our starting position for a centre half is almost the edge of the centre circle on the other side of the park, on the other side of the halfway line. Sorry, so it's something that we need to address, because I've used the description. We're creating a fairway in our half for their players. Centre halves from the other side. Goalkeepers, if they manage to catch a ball and manage to just get the ball away quickly, we've gave them a fairway to aim at that they can just put the ball into, and teams will punish us moving forward.
Colin, what was worrying about that as well is we had the ball, not 5 seconds before, lose it right outside the box. It just seems to be that, okay, it wasn't a goal this time, I shouldn't maybe focus on it, but it was the same way that we possibly concede, is we lose the ball outside their box, they punt it forward, and then the through on goal.
Yeah, exactly. And, when you have a high line and you don't have pressure on the ball, it's a disastrous recipe. You're always going to concede chances. You have to have pressure on the ball if you're going to have a high line, and we just didn't have it. I will say the midfield looked a lot better in terms of having Raskin with Diomande, with Asgard in front. I mean, obviously what we saw at the start of the season with one holder and two 8s, or whatever you want to call them, in front playing so wide, the midfield was even more open. I do think the midfield looked a lot better, and that gave us a bit of a platform on which to build some kind of performance. So we have seen Russell Martin adapt his tactics slightly in that regard. But you're right, high line, and like Ryan said, Martin Boyle has done that countless times against us over the last few years. And I do wonder if Russell Martin has actually looked at footage of the opposition teams we're playing, because I can't remember which team came to Ibrox. It was Dundee, and he said he was surprised by the way they played with 11 men behind the ball. That should come as no surprise to him. In the same way as, Hibs looking in behind for Martin Boyle all the time should not have come as a surprise. I thought Cornelius and Suter did reasonably well. Apart from that, Cornelius certainly looks to be a good signing to me, and it looks to have settled Suter down a wee bit, playing on the right-hand side as well. So don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Don't want to get over the top positive after one win, but there were certainly some positive signs. And I think it's important that despite all the negativity over the last few weeks, that we pick out the positives as well.
Ryan, Cornelius, did you think his recovery pace was good enough?
From what I've seen, you've got to remember who he's playing against. He's playing against a 23-year-old Kieran Bowie, who's, he's one of the most spoken about players in Scottish football at the moment. The potential that we're starting to see coming out of this boy is quite phenomenal. I hope that the recruitment department are paying close attention to him. Boyle's always been a speed merchant, so it's hard to judge when he is playing against guys that that are renowned for being quite fast and quite pacey. But overall, I thought the big man done great. Echo what Colin's saying, that a calmness all of a sudden started to come amongst our defence, and it was very much kind of, the hot potato thing is away. I always kind of felt as if it's like, I always feel as if we're taking more chances in our defence than chances that we're taking in the last third. We feel as if the last third, the ball seems to be played very, very safe all the time, and it's all about keeping possession in the last third, whereas that's where you should be taking your chances. Whereas in defence, it's always like, let's play 1-2s around this guy and get the goalkeeper involved. And it's crazy. Like there's, it's such high risk doing that. So it's not something that I'm overall comfortable with. But I think Cornelius definitely brought a calming element to it. He had a couple of silly fouls and stuff like that. Maybe that's just a wee bit of lack of match sharpness, maybe at this level. But overall, I thought the big man was great. Definitely, certainly bigger than what Jigga's done to us. It might be an opportunity to actually see Jigga come in and play next to Cornelius. Jigga's a £10 million centre half that has got ample experience in playing the Champions League. Wolves haven't paid £10 million for him for nothing. So it's maybe there's an opportunity to rotate there. But it's a strange. I've still got a kind of really big concern that there's a possibility that every single member of our back four that we just saw in the slide there might actually not be there next season. Tav and Suter are still both out of contract at the end of the season. Cornelius, I think, is a loan signing with an obligation to buy or an option to buy.
Option, yeah.
Option. So there's a possibility we might not take that option. And McComb is a loan signing as well. So, we we find ourselves that we actually find ourselves with a half decent settled back line that the majority of us are happy with, only to find just within a matter of months it's completely gone. So we need to maybe start thinking about doing some business on that if we decide we do like it.
Colin, I don't want to pick on the manager because plenty of managers played players out of position because of necessity. I think it has been a necessity to have Suter at the back out of position, but he certainly looked a lot more comfortable playing on the right side.
He absolutely did. And I'd probably just go slightly against what Ryan, just personally, I'd probably go slightly against what Ryan was saying about rotation. I think from Russell Martin's point of view, he doesn't have time. So in that sense, he has to try and keep a consistent team and get a run of form. So if I was in a position, I would be trying to keep that 11, maybe switch Mikey Moore for Ant-Man. But I think I'll be certainly keeping the back four. Like you both said, they looked a lot more settled. Makoma looks a player, by the way. I think that's an upgraded left back. I've seen enough to be completely convinced that he's an upgraded left back. Suter's looking comfortable. Like Ryan said, Giga can come in. I don't think that necessarily weakens us. But I would be trying to get a settled back four and keeper and give us the best chance to get clean sheets, which obviously gives you the best chance of winning games. Like I say, the fixtures coming up certainly look winnable on paper. It's always dangerous to compare it like that or to look at it like that. But they're certainly winnable. I think one of the comments Bully was saying about how Genk haven't exactly been lighting it up in their own league this season so far. So you know what it's going to be like. Ryan's going to be there singing and shouting on Thursday along with 50,000 others. So with the full backing of Ibrox under the lights on a Thursday night, I think we'll probably win that game as well. So you do start looking at it and thinking, you know, for all those of us, I mean, I was one of them. I still am I'm completely unconvinced by Russell Martin. But if he can take another step forward, who knows? We might be looking at this in 4 or 5 weeks' time after 5-6 wins, and it could be a completely different scenario.
Ryan, Mahoma is definitely an upgrade of what we've had, but is he an upgrade on Barisic from 55 season? Because I think that's what we need more than...
I mean, you probably got to look at the amount of assists that Barisic gave during the 55 season, and he just competed at such a consistent level throughout the season. But we played a different style with that. You know, the emphasis was get the ball out wide to the fullbacks, get the crosses into the box. You know, you did have Morelos and Roof in there. You know, guys say you had Arfield making late runs into the box on occasion as well. So different styles. I
mean, Defoe.
Defoe certainly. Yeah. So if Makoma can, you know, he is still just a very young boy and he's got a lot of development still doing a lot of time. He's probably still got to find what I describe as your man strength. You know, he's still that very much that young boy. You know, if he can find himself, you know, that next level up, apply himself in the gym, get himself that wee bit more tactical. There was a wee incident, I think, on the weekend where him and Cornelius had a wee bit of kind of strong words with each other where I think it was Boyle had ghosted in at the back post there. So just wee things like that, if we can cut those out of his game, we've got a great prospect in our hands. Whether he'll be here next season, as I said, it remains to be seen.
Colin already talked about Raskin's goal, but a great cross by Tav, Ryan, as well, wasn't it? I mean, it's good to give him some credit. He's been putting them really far at the back post recently, but that was front post. Fantastic header, like no stopping it. It was right down the keeper's throat as well.
Yeah, Tav will be very aware that he's got Max Aarons sitting on the bench there, desperate to take his jersey off from Medusa and Serling back on the grass and training now as well. So he's got to keep his levels up. The cross was a great whip on it, fantastic. And the wee man's read it perfectly and got in front, you know, and it's actually went right through the power that he's managed to generate or divert from the header. It's actually went right through the goalkeeper's arms. So it was fantastic. We need to see more than that from Tav because so often over the years, these set piece deliveries from corners in particular haven't been good enough. And I think there was, you know, a situation last year where we hadn't actually scored from a corner up until about February or March time or something ridiculous like that. So, you know, if he delivers more balls like that, then it's just going to hopefully create more chances for us.
Colin, talk us through the second goal, because you mentioned earlier on that the confidence came from then, and thankfully it was one of those sliding doors moments. The goal gets chopped off, rightly, and we score on the 40th minute and then get a second one soon after, and I didn't really see any way back in for Hibs at that point for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Billy. The confidence in the first goal, you could see it flowing through the team. We were talking about, before I come to the goal, we were talking there about Makoma and Tav. It's fascinating to me how Russell Martin is all of a sudden is not asking our fullbacks to invert, and they look a lot happier. So like Ryan was saying, Max Aarons, again, when he comes back into the team at some point, I think he'll have a better chance. I still don't know if he's up to the standard, but he'll have a better chance of playing well because he will not be asked to be going inside the pitch into midfield where he was getting caught out time after time. But the second goal came from Mikey Moore going inside the pitch, which left Tav with quite a bit of space out on the right hand side. And of course, we saw the rotation where Raskin eventually went out to the right wing, and we know Raskin can pick out a pass, and he did that. He found Mikey Moore inside the pitch, who had a shot, and then goalkeeper parried it out. And we've seen Miovski do this in the Scottish Premiership for years. He's there, he's the poacher in the box, and he's going to score a lot of goals for this club. We just need to make sure that we're creating the chances. But the rotations and the way we're using our wingers seem to flip on Saturday. I don't know if you guys noticed that. So instead of the inverting taking place on the right hand side, we saw Mikey Moore going inside from the wing position and Tav stay out, which was interesting. And we're probably going to see more of that. And again, when Antman came on for Mikey Moore, he had an impact as well. So again, I feel like I'm getting a bit too positive here, but there were some positive signs. And I think it all stems from the fact that we got a lead and it sort of seemed to take a bit of pressure off the players. They seemed to look, they just looked a lot more confident and able to play the game. So again, I don't buy into this whole thing about Russell Martin's been talking about how, on the training pitch, they're excellent. We're not seeing the fruit of that labour at the weekends and midweek games. And that's what it counts. But yeah, getting that second goal just for half time, Billy, was massive. And obviously, not much that happened in the second half, but it was just good to get a win.
Ryan, kind of a lot of chat about Mikey Moore and maybe not particularly deserving a starting place. Of course, I don't know if that counts as an assist, but he was taking a shot, obviously. Keeper saves it. Miovski gets off the scoring record off their start. What's your feelings on Mikey Moore? Do you think he does deserve his place at the moment?
I'm a wee bit. I feel sorry for him because it's difficult. It's just a 17, just under 18-year-old boy to come into a club the size of Rangers and hit the ground running. So that there has to be an element of patience involved with it. But as much as we do need to be patient with him, he's not our player. So we've got Antman there who we paid a decent amount of money for in the summer, who's came with a good pedigree and a good assist record coming from Holland. We've got our own 18-year-old boy there who's currently starving for minutes, who started the season great. He was scoring goals. He scored a couple of important goals for us at the start of the season there, and his time's been limited because of Moore. So I would be quite happy for him to see him come out of the team. I thought Antman, when he came on, looked really positive. He had that, without skipping too far ahead, he had that dribble towards the end of the game, which, was nearly a worldie that just nipped past the post. So I'd be quite happy to see that. I'm very much a fan of seeing our wingers be wingers. This whole bringing them in, we've cried out for wingers for years. And Ibrox, if anyone's actually ever been on Ibrox is a massive, massive football park. It's one of the biggest football parks as far as square footage is in Scotland. And we need to exploit that. If we can make the park bigger by getting the wingers out to the bylines, we need to do that. And that's where you stretch teams, you tire teams out, you make the park bigger, and you just play to our advantage. One of our biggest advantages is how big Ibrox is. It's difficult to go to places like St Mirren where it is such a small park. You're almost playing like an 11-a-side, 5-a-side park, and it's you don't have the opportunity to get guys open their legs, the opportunity to get balls in behind and spread wingers out. It doesn't really happen in these smaller parks. So we've got to use Ibrox to the advantage that we have, when we're there.
It's an interesting turn of phrase, guys, opening the legs. Okay, thanks very much, Ryan.
You know what I'm trying to say, get your, when you're saying there, I don't even know how to explain. You know what I'm talking about.
Come on, get in a run, get a sprint on, I guess.
Get on your bike,
Colin, and just touching back on the centre half thing, if obviously Giga could come in to play for Souttar, although Souttar played okay the other day there. I'm not against him coming in, even though he's not our player, because Souttar's not going to be here next season either. So it's not like we're keeping, one of our own out the team. Any preference in the right-handed centre half position?
Tough one. I think you stick with Souttar just now because there's a chance that he might be here next season. I know he's out of contract himself and Tav. There is every chance that they might renew them both. We don't know. We're not privy to that, obviously. I can't see Giga being here next year, like Ryan was saying, just because of his price tag. But, we've seen us go and splash £8 million on a striker who hasn't scored for a couple of years. So who knows if Giga has a good loan spell, we might drop 10, 12 million on him. I can't see it personally. So yeah, I'm happy with Tav right back, Makoma left back, Cornelius left centre half, and Souttar right centre half. And You know, obviously with Butland behind him, should fill him with confidence. He's had a good start. Although I will say, the goal that Martin Boyle scored, I would have expected him to have kept that out. So he has had a good start to the season. So I think that keeper and back four, we give them a chance over the next few games and see if we can start building some kind of foundation at the back.
Yeah, it wasn't the most powerful a shot. On you come, Ryan.
Just to come in there as well, we've obviously spent a decent amount of money on Fernandes as well.
Yeah,
and he's completely out of squad at the moment.
And that's embarrassing.
No, right.
That is embarrassing for our recruitment team in terms of Rangers dropping £3.5 million on any football player should be a guaranteed starter. And from what we've seen, we heard it from the Peterborough fans after the deal had been done. They were quite confident they had basically screwed us over, and it's quite clear he's not up to it yet. And you can probably see him going out on loan in January because he's that fat. I don't think he wasn't in the squad on Saturday. Obviously, I don't think he was in the squad the week before that either.
No,
so
he's not.
I mean,
he's not been in the squad since Cornelius game.
Yeah, it's a damning indictment on the recruitment that because £3.5 million is a heck of a lot of money for us.
No, I quite agree. Ryan, I find it a struggle to talk about a half where there was no goals in it. The game was done at half time, but talk me through your recollection of the second half.
Chimiti had a good chance, 1-on-1 against the goalkeeper. I'd love to have seen him put that in the back of the net and welcome to Rangers, but he's hit the goalkeeper. He's kind of ran really kind of quite square at him. It's one that we're still waiting to see what this guy's going to offer us for the money that they paid for him. Ant-Man, who I touched on a wee second ago there, I nearly jumped through my TV when that just crept past the post there. That'd have been a fantastic goal if that had went in. Don't really remember Butland having too much. I remember he had one that was a crazy decision. We were talking about protecting goalkeepers last week. Butland's had one that he's jumped up for it and he's been given a foul, and it's never in a million years a foul on Butland, and it's a crying shame the way that things are going. It's like almost as if you come within the radius of a goalkeeper that it's becoming a foul. It's like a non-contact sport almost if you touch the goalkeeper. So it's some crazy decisions getting made on that side of things. But I think the second half was what Rangers really needed to be. We'd won the game. There's no point in going out and winning at a game. It's a cup game. We're not having an eye on silly things like goal difference and stuff like that. Just we've won the tie. We're 2-0 up here. Let's just concentrate on keeping a clean sheet because we don't keep very many of them. Keep control. We made a good few substitutions as well, so we get some minutes into some legs of some of the other guys as well. So for me, it's what it needed to be. Everybody went up the road. A few people probably went up the road with a bit of red face after some of the stuff that they've been writing online. People obviously outside the stadium and stuff like that. So the players and the management, they answered it in the right way by getting the victory without replying, probably with very little criticism on his performance and all.
Colin, what's your take in the second half?
Yeah, I think Ryan's absolutely spot on. It was probably what we needed. Just a bit of control, not too much drama. And yeah, if Chimiti had scored that, I think it would have been the icing on top of the cake. He looked okay. Time will tell. Again, I think there's people writing him off. I've seen some social media comments, that he's going to be one of our worst signings ever. Guys, we need to give him a chance. He hasn't scored a goal in a couple of seasons, but most of his appearances have been off the bench with like 5 minutes left. I mean, the boy scored against Porto when he was 18 and was, one of the hottest prospects in Portuguese football. So there's obviously a reason that they've seen something in him, and I'm hopeful that, he'll score goals for us. But yeah, it was I wouldn't say it was a flat second half, but it was certainly a controlled second half, and exactly what we needed. And great to get the win, great to get a clean sheet. But we're not getting ahead of ourselves. It's just one game. But certainly for Russell Martin, I mean, can you imagine the noise if we had gone out of that cup, another trophy off the table? It would have been absolute carnage. So I will say the fans were excellent. See the fans who were in the stadium. They support the team from the first minute to the last minute, and they're absolutely entitled to protest before the game. But whilst they were in the stadium, they were behind the players, and it was excellent to see.
Ryan, next round we're up against Celtic. I think it's the first weekend in November, if I'm right. No date officially chosen yet. We usually get the Sunday, I think, but with us both playing in Europe the following week, there may be an outside chance we'll be playing on the Saturday. This is Russell Martin's chance to get one hand on the cup, I guess. I don't fear them, based on seeing them play a couple of weeks back. What about yourself?
Aye. Is my signal all right? You guys are kind of buffering a wee bit.
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Yep. I think they'll be more worried about us than we will be about them. Let's put it that way. There was a good few weeks where we've got a kind of upward trajectory to go on. I don't really see much of an upward trajectory being available for them. So we just need to wait and see what happens with what the next kind of few weeks will give us. But as we've seen with all these Old Firm games before, that the form guide goes out the window, all bets are off. I really do hope it is the Saturday and not the Sunday. I think a lot more people will enjoy it. My kind of feeling is I've got a wee kind of outside bet, I think, about the 5:45 on the Saturday. What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Yeah. Colin, I guess we can only really get better, I hope. We're hoping so anyway. And hopefully if we're better than we were even a couple of weeks back against them, then it will be a positive result.
Yeah, hopefully. Again, just referring back to the name of the pod tonight, kicking the can down the road. I mean, it's interesting to think, to step back and think, what does Russell Martin need to happen over the next few games to actually have any kind of chance to resurrect his career at Rangers? And I don't know the answer to that question. I'm kind of just putting it out there. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts, but I would imagine he probably needs to win the next 4 or 5 games, 6 games until that semi-final to win over fans. And I don't even know if that would be enough. But it's quite clear Andrew Kavanagh was over again at the weekend. They've doubled down on him. So, I mean, you kind of just hope that we do start winning games, get a run of games where we look better, the performances are better. But even if the performances are better, the results are going to have to come along with it, because even a draw, if we lose any more points in the league, I think the noise is just going to become unbearable, and they'll have to act. I know they're trying to, if they're trying to protect them and they're saying they're going to stick with them, but there's going to come a point where you cannot kick the can any further down the road.
Ryan, that is a lot of things I'm seeing and reading online is people saying the same thing. Like, well, this is one win, but it doesn't change anything in the long term. They still want rid of him. Obviously, the protest did go ahead. I don't know how many people were there, about 2,000 folk.
1,500's the rumoured amount, yeah.
Right. The manager said he could hear it during his team talk before the game. It's not nice. I don't particularly want him to. I don't wish him any, personal harm or personal hurt. But he's not making our team a good team at the moment. So for me, I was fully behind the at least the fans having the right to voice their opinion on it.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of looking back on group chats during the week there, just try just find things that I'd written and stuff like that when he got there. And one of the things I'd actually written, I think it was the 5th of June, it was announced that he needs to hit the ground running, or this is going to turn very, very nasty, very, very quickly. And unfortunately, it did on him. So the only thing that he can do is within his power and within the team's power is to go out and win football games and prove us wrong. And nobody would be more happier that we proved wrong than all of us. We would love to be proved wrong, and that it turns out at the end of the season he's standing there with a couple of bits of silverware in his hand and he was the right guy for the job. And we've had a right good crack at Europe. We've had a good couple of memorable nights, and it was just a stuttering start. And what he said about the pain before the gain sort of thing that he mentioned right at the very start, that it turned out to be true, rather than what Clement fed us last season, that you're not going to see the real team until about November time. And I don't think we ever saw the real team last season. So it just that's all that's within his power. He's still the guy that's there at the moment. He's still the guy that's got the job. He's still got the reins. So he just has to just keep winning football games. And I don't care how they win football games. I know that 2-0 with the dullest second half on Saturday, it was crap to watch. It was boring. It was fine. We still won the game. If we're winning games 1-0 and it's coming off the back of somebody's backside to get it back in the net in the last minute, I don't care. Just win football games. Just get us over the line. I don't care what it looks like. We can work on it looking nice later on down the line. Just win football games.
That was something from last week's press conference, Colin, that the manager said, or sort of head coach said. I don't know if it was just maybe taken out of context, but it seemed to indicate that, the fans want to win in a certain way. And then I seen a poll on a popular Rangers forum, and it was 99%. Do you care how we win? No. That's Rangers. That's Rangers. Rangers just win.
Yeah, listen, that's part of the course of being a Rangers Football Club. You have to win games, and I think over the summer, Ryan referenced there that, the day he was appointed, and we all said he had to hit the ground running. And, the question was, this philosophy that he's got of playing out from the back and all the rest of it, that's fine. But we all said at that point, he can implement that over time, but he has to start winning immediately to get fan buy-in and player buy-in. Now, the thing that I'm still not sure about is he kept on talking about, before the season actually started, before we even played that Champions League tie against Panathinaikos, he kept on talking about how the players were bought into what he was trying to do, what they were trying to implement. And, we've seen over the first few weeks of the season that guys like Joe Rothwell and these guys, they didn't look like they believed in it. Now, what's really interesting, and I've said this before, but it is interesting to see how he's adapted. I mean, it's quite clear this is not the fully flung playing out from the back Russell Martin stuff that we've seen from at Southampton, MK Dons, Swansea. He has brought that back to kind of make it more simple. So if that's what we're going to see over the next few weeks, then it stands to reason that making the game plan simpler for the players is going to help them. I talked before about the fullbacks not inverting. Like Ryan said, the wingers just doing their job and staying wide and going at players. Miovski staying in the box, or whoever the striker is staying and being a penalty box striker. It's helped the midfield as well. So you could go throughout the whole team. It's helped them just simplify the game plan. So, if we're being kind to him, which I know not many people will be, he does look to have maybe learned some lessons from the mistakes he's made over the first few weeks, and time will tell if it pays dividends over the next coming weeks.
Ryan, where do you think that comes from? The attitude that he's got with it, because it seems to make sense to me. You go, okay, we'll bring in this philosophy over time, but first and foremost, we need to get, as you say, he needed to go off to a flying start. He didn't. I just don't know where it comes from that he's taken this long to actually go back to basics a wee bit.
I think he realised he was going to lose his job. And it's as simple as that. I need to change this or I'm going to get sacked. It's what I'm trying to do in the culture and the implementations I'm trying to make here aren't working. And if I can't get these things to work, pure and simple, I need to change them and make things different, or I'm going to find myself back at the job centre again. And if he had carried on doing what he was doing, the likes of we've seen quite a big tactical shift in the last Old Firm game at Ibrox, where all of a sudden we found out that Tavernier's got a long throw after playing for us for nearly 10 years. He done everything within his power that day to ensure that we did not lose that game under any circumstances, because I think he realised if we had lost it, it was probably going to be his head, because that would have probably been the breaking point. And I think that was on the back of losing. I think the Bruges game was before that. I was out in Bruges, and you've got guys that are all around. We're all £1,000 deep into that trip, and we're getting absolutely humiliated. So I think he realised after that one that I have to change things, and if I don't change things quickly, then it's pure and simple. I'm curtains. I'm a goner here. So it's simple.
See, the thing with that long ball or the long shies, I think we'd had a few teams do it to us a few weeks in a row, and then for some reason he brings it out for the Old Firm game. So yeah, maybe as you say, he's learning something from being in a different league. Colin, I'll ask you, and I'll come back to Ryan asking the same thing. We're obviously called kicking the can down the road again, because we, I guess here, at least amongst ourselves, think it's inevitable that he still will be away. But what do you think he does need to do? How many wins does he get before he's safe?
Well, I don't think he's going to be safe at any point. It's like being a Rangers manager, but I think he does need to stay undefeated in all competitions up to the Celtic game. And I think we probably have to win all the league games. So I know we're playing Falkirk away, we've got Livingston away, we've got Dundee United home, and we've got Kilmarnock. I think there's probably one other game I've missed out there, maybe Hibs in the league. I think he has to win all the league games, because if we fall further behind Celtic, then the noise is just going to become unbearable, like I said before. I think we've got Sturm Graz away after Genk in the Europa League. Again, I think they're two winnable games. So, like I say, if he can build some momentum, then he's got a chance after the weekend. But I think that win, again, I'll say it again, it's bought him time, but it has not necessarily bought belief from the fans. That is going to have to be built up over a number of weeks. So I still think it's a long shot that he turns this round. But like Ryan said, fingers crossed he can do it, because we all just want to see this team win.
Ryan, I'll come to you on the same point. You're a season ticket holder. You go to all the games, you go away. What does he need to do to turn it around for you personally?
Well, I would use I would use the same phrase that Colin's using there with belief, trust. I don't trust the guy. I don't trust him to take the team forward. So if I can develop a sense of trust in him that he is the right man for the job. Now, the fixtures that Colin's rattled off there, fine. The European side of things I can forgive, because the European side is almost like a league in itself now. So one bad result doesn't necessarily mean elimination from Europe. So if we do happen to beat Genk, but we go away to Sturm Graz and we draw, if we draw in Brann, as long as we win our home games in Europe, then that should see us enough that we should be looking to be involved in the second stage of this Europa League. He has to go on a win and run domestically, though. We spoke about last season, beating Celtic wasn't a problem for us last season. It was beating all the other teams. So we now need to get ourselves back in a situation where we're beating other teams and get ourselves ready for the Old Firm game. We're going to have two before just one coming up towards the end of the year in the Cup in November. And then we've got the one there in the new year, which is obviously going to be over there. But massive games, absolutely massive games. The Cup semi-final will be what it will be. You can't kind of hold it against them, because better managers, have came and gone and winning, losing Cup games. So that's very much a free hit for him. The European games to a certain extent, but he needs to go out. Like they're going away to Falkirk. Falkirk are playing the Championship last season. Falkirk relying on a guy nearly 40 years old and Scott Arfield, who doesn't play for us anymore. We've got to go out and scud these teams. Going to Easter Road and winning on Easter Road in the last week in October is a massive. That's games that you need to. If you have aspirations to be champions of this country and win leagues, you need to go to Easter Road in midweek games on a Wednesday night and get results. And if he doesn't do that, he loses the trust, he loses the belief, and ultimately he's probably going to lose his job.
Colin, even in recent seasons, I've always expected to go away to Easter Road and win, or come away with a good result at least. But I really have a fear at the moment that we're not really capable of going away anywhere and winning. But that's just me personally.
Yeah, and I'd probably throw that back at you, Billy, and ask you why is that? And it's probably because of our defensive issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
completely, and also the lack of chance creation and the lack of goals as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you build any kind of team performance from the back, and we've looked so poor at the back over recent weeks, from open play, but also from set pieces. We've covered set pieces a number of times on this podcast. Corners, free kicks, throw-ins, it's all been bang average, below standard. So, yeah, I mean, Easter Road, Falkirk away, the likes of Dundee United, we have to be winning, taking 3 points from these games. I will say, I think there's more pressure on that semi-final against Celtic, because if you're looking at it objectively, we're however many points behind Celtic already in the league. It's probably a long shot for them to win that. Rangers need to be winning trophies. That is going to be one of possibly 2 opportunities we're going to have to win a trophy this year. So I think the pressure will be on them again in that game. And we've actually got a pretty good record against Celtic in semi-finals. I think I heard Doug say this in I don't know, it was last night, which night it was, in another pod, saying, I'm pleased we got Celtic in the semi-final, because our record against them semi-finals is much better than the final record.
I was thinking of that earlier on, actually. I didn't know the stat for definite to know if we were better in semi-finals against them than actual finals. It certainly feels like we've won a nice few semi-finals. Was the Korteman goal a semi-final, Ryan?
I think so, mate. Yeah, I think one of the most recent one was the one that Arfield speaking about just a minute ago there. He scored. It was a Roof that scored. It was Arfield, sorry. And I just remember the fantastic run from Bassey going down the left-hand side in extra time. He was like an Olympic sprinter. He crossed it in, forced an own goal from Starfelt. That was a semi-final.
That's right. It's set up against Hearts, actually, wasn't it, in the final? I view that day as a final, actually. I don't know. It's a weird false memory, I guess I've got. Guys, we'll not touch too much on the Genk match, other than just to see if you're looking forward to it or not. Because I'm on the pod, we'll cover it at least over the course of the next couple of days. But just your kind of gut feeling, Ryan, you think it's going to be a positive result? As someone said in the comments earlier on, they're not going through a great time themselves.
It's Thursday night under the lights at Ibrox. It's magical things can happen, as we've seen before. So if they come out and they start well, I think Sean had mentioned there about the pressure of going a goal behind and having character. I think that's a massive thing, to be honest. If we find ourselves a goal behind, we will find out, has the team turned the corner that we hope they have? But this is where, the proof's in the pudding when it comes to it, because we are going to go up against a high quality of opposition. We've obviously found out earlier on in the season how good Belgian football teams can be, but basically, unfortunately, to our peril. So we need to see where we are with it now. But, if we start well, we get an early goal. I'd like to see us get Majowski involved in the game a bit more. I felt the last couple of games he's been really, really isolated, and not been able to kind of put his stamp on it. So I feel we need to get him a little bit more involved, to get the ball into his feet, because he's some days we've found out ourselves in the past, he can be a right handful and a great goal scorer when he wants to be.
Same kind of thing to you, Colin. What's your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic, cautiously optimistic, I would say. I'm just hopeful. I'm prioritising just looking at the defensive side of the game and seeing if we're a bit more robust and secure at the back. And I think we'll cause them problems, particularly from set pieces. Again, I was looking at the set pieces on Saturday. We've got some big guys in our team. If you think about Raskin's leap, that makes him a target for defences. They'll have to put somebody big in him. You've then got the likes of Suter, Cornelius, Asgard's huge. Like this, we've got some physical players in there. So I think we'll cause them problems from set pieces. So yeah, quite cautiously optimistic that we'll win that game. And momentum's a huge thing in football. We've all been in change rooms at different levels of sport. Momentum's huge and it can carry you. So let's see if we can get some momentum over the next couple of games.
I wouldn't mind seeing Cornelius take a free kick, Ryan. What about you? You see him score a couple of weeks ago.
It was a nailer, wasn't it? It was an absolute peach. So the opportunity presents itself. I think Tav would do well to take the ball off him, because obviously one's right-footed and one's left-footed, and you sometimes see with free kicks and they sit down on the park, say it actually suits a left-footed a wee bit more. Mm-hmm. But it was an absolute screamer. Hopefully it wasn't one of 10. I think it was like the Bash Brothers and the Mighty Ducks 1 in 5 or something like that, wasn't it? So showing my age when I say that, mind you. But I'm hopeful that these are the things that when you are playing against top opposition, when you do get opportunities from set pieces outside the box and field positions, you've got to be at least hit the target. So hopefully the big man can get something.
I did hear from the manager that Rothwell was going to be, or should be fit for it. Ryan, do you bring him back in for this game?
He's probably got a place in the bench, doesn't he? There's it's been quite widely publicised over the last 10 days that he's been not a 6, he's been played out of position. He's one of the fastest guys that people have ever seen with the ball at his feet and stuff like that. So he's an experienced pro. He's got a good pedigree. I certainly wouldn't bring him in. I thought the three in midfield did enough on Saturday. I do believe there is still more, particularly from Diamandi. I'm still looking to get more out of him. I want to see him more in the box and causing a goal threat. We're not getting enough goals from the centre of the park. We used to see years going by with the likes of Alberts, Van Bronckhorst, even Barry Ferguson was chipping in with goals at some point. So I do want to see more from our centre midfield as far as goal contribution is concerned. I wouldn't bring him straight back in. I don't think the other three guys have done anything to deserve to be dropped. But if I saw his name on the bench, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we'll probably leave it there. I'll come to you, Colin. Is there anything I've missed from the weekend or anything you wanted to bring up?
No, I think you've covered everything, Billy. So yeah, just good to get a win. Good to get on a podcast and talk about our Rangers win. Like you said, not getting too ahead of ourselves, but just nice to have some positivity. And I know there'll be a lot of people watching this who still want Russell Martin out. Totally get it. I'm just hopeful that we keep winning games of football. We have to get behind the team and behind the players. And Ryan's touched on it. I think he made the biggest point that I've taken out of this podcast is he has to earn the trust and belief of the supporters and the players, and that has to happen very, very quickly. Otherwise they'll be gone.
No, quite right. Thank you very much for coming on, Colin. Ryan, yourself, anything you want to bring up?
No, just looking forward to getting back on Thursday night. It really took something out of me not being there on Saturday, and it felt quite alien watching my team play at Ibrox, and I wasn't there to see it myself. So I'm very much looking forward to going back to Ibrox on Thursday and doing what we do best and supporting the team.
No, you're quite right. That is what we do best. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you very much for your comments at the side as well. We do read them and try and comment on them and bring them up on the screen for you. If you do like listening to podcasts, all podcasts go out on the usual podcast apps. It does help us as well if you watch us over on YouTube to give us contribute towards the pod a wee bit. So thank you very much if you're doing that. If you're not, please go over to YouTube and like and subscribe to the Rangers Journal channel. So thank you everyone again for watching, and remember, every night is the Rangers Journal night.